Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today the subject is moon in the 8th house. So what is moon? Moon represents your mind, your emotions. What is the 8th house? The 8th house represents sudden ups and downs, insecurity, discovery, exploration, truth, observation, longevity, death, and death-like situations. If I had to explain to you the 8th house in a single sentence, this single sentence explains to you about the 8th house. I do not know. It makes you feel scared, insecure, yet it drives you to explore and discover the truth. The 8th house is 12 from the 9th house, which means it is the loss of that house. Now, what is the 9th house? The 9th house represents religion, God, belief. These things give you a sense of identity and security. When the moon is in the 8th house, it is focused on exploration. Since it is 12 from the 9th house, it is antagonistic towards beliefs. It does not want to believe in anything blindly. You can sense an unconscious hostility towards all types of belief. This is the mark. Moon is not comfortable here, as this is the Kazakhstan for the moon. The moon always seeks comfort and stability, even ignoring the truth to do so. So people with moon in the 8th house are natural seekers. They are searching for the truth, which takes an enormous amount of courage. The truth is not for the weak, it is harsh. It breaks down all your illusions, even the ones that comfort you the most. It forces you to be silent and just observe, instead of giving into mindless chatter. Now let's give you some clips of people with moon in the 8th house so that you can get an understanding of them. My examples include Steve Jobs, Sadhguru.
My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is a destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But but someday not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Human intellect and human intelligence has broken out of a certain bond which was there for every other creature, that they could function like an automated machine through certain instinctual process. What has happened with the human being with the process of evolution is, the human being has broken out of that instinctual process, and there's an intelligence which has to function consciously. But functioning consciously means every moment of life is an exploration, which is too scary for a whole lot of people. So the best thing is identify with something which gives you some sense of what you are. But this some sense of what you are, which you took on based on your social and cultural backgrounds, what you took on, makes sense for your survival process, but not for explorative process. It doesn't explore life. It keeps you sane. It's a good solace. It helps you to sleep well in the night, but it doesn't awaken a different dimension of knowing. It doesn't awaken the possibility of exploring dimensions which are not yet within you. So if this has to happen, the most important thing is to be able to sit here, not identified with anything. When I said, it's so hard to remain uneducated in this world, because everybody's busy wanting to teach you something. This is all I did in my life, to remain uneducated, not to be influenced by parents, by family, by religion that's happening around you, culture that's happening around you, education that people are forcing on you, just to be the way creation intended you to be, simply. Just simply the way you were born. Not tangling up your intelligence to any particular thing, either your nationality, or your religion, or your race, or your creed, or your family, or any kind of identity, or your gender, or whatever, simply to be able to view your life just as a piece of life. If one does this, then you will see perception will explode in ways that they have not imagined possible. Science must happen rampantly. Mysticism must happen rampantly, because this is simply exploratory. This is not about seeing how to make it useful. But today, modern science has become a slave of technology. If you don't make it useful, nobody's going to fund you anymore. You simply say, I want to know. Nobody's interested in this. Science is trying to achieve everything through physical means, by taking physical quantities, going by the physical laws. But physical is like the peel of the fruit. It has no purpose of its own. The peel is useful only as a protective layer to the fruit. Once the fruit is eaten, peel goes to the trash can. See, right now, the fruit is inside. So this body is very important. We have to feed it, we have to decorate it, we have to dress it up, we have to pamper it in so many ways. Tomorrow morning, if the fruit is gone, nobody's interested in this body anymore. Nobody wants to transact with this anymore. Only because there is something else inside. Body is such great significance. Once this is gone, what is this? This is just like a fruit peel. People want to get rid of it at the earliest. Because once it's dead, leave the dead to the dead. You know, somebody said a long time ago. Once, as long as they're alive, you do whatever. Once they're dead, you're done. Because the peel is meaningless without the fruit.
I'm curious on a completely different topic. When you look at other faith traditions, when you look at the rabbi, sages, and imams, and people all over the world of different traditions, what do you see in common?
The common is they all believe something that they don't know. Because I think the main reason why every human being is not a natural seeker is they have not realized the immensity of I do not know. Only if you say I do not know, the possibility of knowing arises, longing to know arises, seeking to know arises, then knowing becomes a possibility and a reality. Everything that you do not know, if you just believe, you destroy the possibility of knowing altogether. But belief is something that builds confidence into a human being, makes him far more sure-footed than others. But confidence without clarity is very disastrous, both for the individual and the larger humanity and the planet itself. Essentially, believing something means you are not sincere enough to admit that you do not know. How to know this is just an intrigue that from nowhere we just pop up, and full-scale drama, and suddenly we pop out and don't know what. For this we have simplistic answers. Okay, you will go to heaven. Okay, you will go to hell. The people that you don't like will go to hell. Of course, you and me will go to heaven. So these things are there. We are trying to handle our ignorance with solace. Solace is what you're seeking. You must believe something. Belief is a good thing, because today modern psychiatrists are here trying to solve these problems that human beings are having with their intelligence, which are turned against themselves. Essentially, all human suffering is their own intelligence having turned against them. That's all it is. So psychiatrists are trying to handle, but they can only handle one client at a time, and they need a lot of furniture and all this. But religions and faiths have managed people for a long time. Hats off to them for that, because they've given solace and balance to people for a very long time. But solace is one thing. Solution and seeking is something totally different. If you're talking about seeking to know, then belief systems are of no consequence.
Hope you liked it. Please subscribe and like my videos. Be sure to let me know your own experience if you have this one, or if you know them.